Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's just with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things nerdy through a common sense lens. And man, oh man, I'll tell you right now, I have been cautiously optimistic about the Highlander, well, it's now a reboot, Highlander reboot, since pretty much the beginning, when it was announced that we'd be getting the guys from John Wick to work on the movie out there, like the director and stuff like that. And then we've got Henry Cavill as our main character. Initially, the reports were that it was going to be just a Highlander story set in the same universe, but they decided to go with a full-blown reboot. And considering the issues with the movies and the continuity out there and how successful the television show out there was, I can kind of understand why you'd kind of want to reset things. And I think any honest fan out there, especially those of us that even though I still loved every single one of those movies, can completely and totally understand why the continuity of the Highlander universe is an absolute mess, and maybe a fresh reboot, kind of a fresh start from some guys that were really successful building out and franchising the John Wick universe might actually end up being good for the whole series. And the latest additional cast announcement that we have now gotten from the trade magazines out there gives us an insight not only to an absolutely excellent actor that is now joining the cast that I'm sure will absolutely crush what I would argue is already an incredibly star-studded cast as well, but who he's playing gives us more insight to what the story will be about for the Highlander movie, because indeed it does look like we'll be getting a merger of the television show universe and the more traditional movie universe into one big wild crazy ball. And as an absolute fan of both, I am excited. I mean, I was even a fan of the little animated series that was like a spinoff of the second movie that most people absolutely hated. So boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited about this. And boy, I'll tell you what, bringing in Jeremy Irons of all people, especially in a role as the leader of the Watchers, which if you don't know who those folks are, we'll tell you about them here in a little bit in case for some reason you missed the television show from the 90s. Boys and girls, this is going to be a lot of fun, because one of the things I loved about the Watchers, without going into too many details just yet, is how much depth and lore they added and expanded to the universe of Highlander. And I, for one, absolutely loved it, boys and girls. As a big fan of the Talamasca in the Anne Rice Vampire Chronicles universe out there, I love the idea of the Watchers as well, and it all makes sense, and it's a beautifully well-written idea. So we're going to check out this article from CosmicBook.news, getting all of the juicy details, and obviously, spoiler alert, if you didn't see the title and it said new potentially releases new plot details, and obviously, technically, this is all rumor and speculation, because although it does come from the Hollywood trade magazines, there hasn't been any official announcements yet, at least not that I'm aware of at the time of this recording. But who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised I missed something in the article. We'll find out. So either way, not too much of a spoiler, because all of this could always change after all. But before we do get into all of that fun stuff, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share it with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,200. We are inching our way closer and closer to 23. I think we're sitting at like 2271, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Are you excited about the Highlander reboot? Is this something you actually think will end up doing well, considering all of the people involved with the Henry Cavill and then the John Wick guys? Or is this just something you don't need to really think we need of? You're so sick and tired of all of the reboots and all of that kind of stuff out there. What do you think about the addition to the Watchers to the movie? Will that add more intrigue? Will that add more depth? Will that add more fun to the movie? Or is that something you think could have been left out until a later time? Let us know what you think about it in the comment section down below. To support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, from Matt McGloin over there at CosmicBook.news. Jeremy Irons joins Henry Cavill in Highlander as leader of the Watchers. Oh, yeah. And it isn't so nice to be excited about something again. Jeremy Irons is the latest name to join the cast of Chad Stahelski's Highlander reboot starring Henry Cavill. According to the trades, Jeremy Irons will play the film's other antagonist, along with Dave Bautista's Kurgan, as the leader of the secret order known as the Watchers. The group in the reboot is described as a monitoring immortals and considers them a danger to humanity. Fans of the Adrian Paul TV series will recognize the Watchers, as they were first introduced in that show. This edition further confirms what Stahelski had said about pulling inspiration directly from the TV series. In the Adrian Paul series, the Watchers were a secret order of mortals whose mission is to observe and chronicle the lives and duels of immortals, but never interfere in the game. However, there were those rogue Watchers who deemed the immortals as a threat. So it'll be interesting to see where Stilisky goes with his version. Because, yeah, actually, if you didn't watch the series out there with Adrian Paul, which I highly recommend it, and I think a lot of it's free to watch on Tubi right now. I highly recommend you go check it out. It takes a little bit to get into it in the first few episodes out there, but it'll hook you. It'll hook you. Just give it a chance. Give it the first 5 episodes or so. Or at least the first season. It's kind of like Star Trek Next Generation, if you get what I'm saying. But anyway, the Watchers are really cool. There was this one episode, this one storyline where they're talking about the rogue Watchers out there. Literally, and the only reason we found out about him, because of course they captured the main character, Adrian Paul, Duncan MacLeod out there. They had to capture him, and they put him in there because somebody had found out that a rogue group of the Watchers were kidnapping immortals, and they were keeping them essentially in kind of like a coma. So that way, no single immortal would ever be able to win the game, right? Be the final one, get the quickening and all of the power that comes with that. That's what they were afraid of. It was a wild episode, absolutely wild and disturbing episode. But it's one of them situations where I highly recommend it. So depending on which way they go with this, it sounds like they're going to be another antagonist. But even with the Watchers, just, watch, document, but never interfere. Even with that, all of the immortals were always very suspicious of the Watchers. Even with Adrian Paul's character, even with Connor becoming close friends with one of the Watchers and kind of almost having kind of like the Buffy librarian, the Buffy Giles kind of relationship going on with that kind of situation. There was still always a lot of distrust about any other Watchers that they might encounter. And obviously him violating his Watcher's oath of not interfering by talking and becoming friends with Duncan out there obviously violated a lot of that kind of stuff. So it was always a very tumultuous thing out there. But I love the idea of secret organizations. I love ancient secret organizations out there that have been watching and chronicling. And honestly, that's one of the best sources for all of the fun stories and all of the potential other spin-offs and other immortals you can bring in with their stories, because it makes it really simple and a really easy way to introduce more immortals. You just give them a backstory from one of the Watchers, right? The Watcher just tells their tale because their Watcher has their journal, or somebody finds it. You introduce somebody out there and all of a sudden, well, how do we get his backstory? Well, we don't need an entire movie. We don't need an entire episode necessarily about that backstory. We get a 5-10 minute little back thing right there of them going through the journal. So it's an incredible plot device, if nothing else, of having the Watchers in there. So I love this idea. I loved the Watchers in the Adrian Paul series, and I'm so glad that Stilisky has decided to bring them in as well. So that, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. I love this idea. So that's obviously another major aspect to the plot that if we found out just by Jeremy Irons and his character being added to this, because we already know so much about the Watchers. So it'll be very curious to see what kind of balance and how all of that ends up playing, how the dynamic. I mean, you could have an entire Watcher spin-off television series come out of this if it's successful, and that would be fascinating. You could have your Immortal of the Week, or you could have your overarching story. There's just, the possibilities are endless with something like this. So I just really love this, especially if this movie ends up being really good and it ends up leading into a successful expanded Highlander universe, which I, for one, would absolutely love. Boys and girls, just tap it right into my veins. Tap it right into my veins, please. I love it. I love it. I love it. Irons is no stranger to the genre fans, having previously starred as Alfred Pennyworth in Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Justice League, which he was absolutely incredible as that one as well. I loved him as Alfred. I thought he was fabulous. His casting marks him as the second major DCU actor to appear in Highlander, alongside Russell Crowe, who plays Ramirez. Cavill himself, of course, is Superman in the DCEU. The ensemble now includes Henry Cavill as Connor MacLeod, Crow as Ramirez, which let's hope he lost some of that COVID weight. David Bautista as the villainous Kurgan, Karen Gillan as Heather, which I'm super excited to see that. I love Karen Gillan. She's beautiful. She's wonderful. She's a fabulous actor. Total sweetheart. I'm excited for that. Marisa Abella in a new lead role as an immortal, probably going to be playing something along the lines of what we saw with, the chick that played in the Raven spinoff series. I cannot remember her name right now. Highlander fans out there, forgive me, but the one that played in the Raven spinoff, I could probably see as something like that, kind of like a past flame of Connor's out there and something like that comes around. Whereas you've got Heather, supposed to be his wife from the past and stuff like that. So we'll see how all that goes out there. Damon Chazelle, Mao Zedong, and WWE's Drew McIntyre as Angus MacLeod, the brother of Cavill's Connor. which just means we're going to get an awesome fight between Angus and Batista. Like, it's just going to be epic. I think it's going to be really, really good out there. The original 1986 film centered on the battle between immortal warriors led by Christopher Lambert's Connor McLeod and Sean Connery's Ramirez against Clancy Brown's Coogan. The franchise became a cult favorite, inspired multiple sequels, yada, yada, yada. We all know that and all of that kind of fun stuff out there. With Selesky directing and Amazon MGM's United Artists backing the project, Highlander is shaping up to be one of the biggest fantasy reboots in years. And obviously things are kind of paused on about the Henry Cavill. We reported on the injury and all that kind of stuff not too long ago. But either way, I like this. This all sounds really good to me. I love the idea of the Watchers. I loved them in the Highlander television series out there. I just thought it was all around good quality storytelling out there that was absolutely fabulous and a lot of fun. So I love the idea of this. I'm glad they're adding the Watchers in there. Were they in the original movies? No. We already say they're going to be a combination of the movies and the television series? Yes. And honestly, I'm here for it. This is exactly what I want. This is all shaping up. You've got an incredible cast here of a lot of very, very well-known and very just all-around solid, good quality actors out there. You've got an incredible director that has already done wonderful things with the John Wick universe out there. And now we have her entering his fray into the Highlander universe. And I love this, boys and girls. I love the idea of this. I love the addition. I mean, like I said, Jeremy Irons is just absolutely incredible actor, just hands down wonderful. And the addition of the Watchers just adds an extra element and an extra depth to the lore and to the history and be able to so easily expand out the universe with them and everything else that I love this idea. There is nothing about this that I've not seen, and I hate to sound like a simp, but at the end of the day, boys and girls, you know me. If this thing ends up sucking, if it ends up doing it bad at the box office, if they end up being completely and totally screwing all of this up, I'll let you guys know. We'll all talk about it, and you know I will call them out for it. But at the end of the day, right now, any of you John Wick fans out there, any of you guys that know the John Wick movies, I'd imagine you guys are excited about this Highlander franchise as well because you saw what successes he had with that. If they can pull off the exact same thing with Highlander, boys and girls, I think fans are in for an absolute treat because I, for one, cannot wait to watch Henry Cavill at the end of the day become the last man standing because as we all know in the Highlander universe, boys and girls, with all of its head slashing, quickenings, major crazy lightning shots, and awesome fights, at the end of the day, there can be only one. So do a good job and make the fans happy, because otherwise, you'll be the last one, and not in the way you want it in the Highlander universe. A big shout out to all of our subscribers and members out there. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys like and subscribe if you have not already.